Hello and welcome to this episode of the Rambler podcast. My name is Jimmy Smith and I am a proud member of the Cathedral Prep class of 2011. I am the Assistant Vice President of Development and Strategic Initiatives here at Prep, and I work in our advancement office, as well as I'm the host for this podcast. So hard to believe, but 1 year ago, we introduced you the launch of this podcast where on the first Monday of each month, we feature a prominent alumnus of Cathedral Prep or Villa Maria Academy to talk to them about their career accomplishments and the leadership lessons that they've experienced throughout their career, and as an opportunity for us to be able to learn from them on this format of the podcast. Then on the third Monday of each month, we release an episode of a current faculty member, staff member, or coach at Prep. So you have an opportunity to get to know more about the people serving our students today and as the organization as a whole. From time to time, we also feature a series of the podcast called Info Sessions, where we highlight a specific program or opportunity offered at Cathedral Prep. So it's been a lot of fun hosting the podcast, having these conversations, and for those of you who have been listening and following along, I just want to thank you for having done so. But the biggest mission of this podcast is to continue to promote why Cathedral Prep is a standard of excellence. From our incredible alumni base, the amazing people who have worked and continue to work for the organization, and of course, why we're all here, the students who make Prep what it is. All we do is strive for excellence in our mission to develop men and women of vision in spirit, mind, and body. So again, I just want to thank you for listening to the podcast. And today's episode is a special recap as we have a compilation that we put together of answers from all of our alumni guests. If you've listened to the podcast, what I do is at the end of each discussion I have with an alumnus, I ask them, if you could go back in time and knowing what you know now and speak at your Prep or Villa graduation, what would you say? So this podcast episode contains the answers to that question from each alumnus we've had on as a guest from this past year. There's some really fun answers on this that you get to hear, and also some full of wisdom, but I'm curious to hear what your maybe favorite answer was, one that maybe resonates with you the most. So listen in as we compile these together on this special episode. Thanks again for listening, and I would encourage you to go back to listen to any of these episodes you have missed, as we've had really some amazing guests, as you'll hear on this episode of the podcast, from our alumnus, as well as current faculty and staff members. All the episodes are pretty relevant, meaning there's not one thing specifically to a certain date. So go back and listen to them, and you'll be able to hear and learn a lot from what we've had to share. And one more thing I want to add before we get into this episode of the podcast is, if you know someone who is a Cathedral Prep or Villa Maria Academy alum that would be a great guest to have on the podcast, please shoot me over an email. My email address is jimmy.smith@cathedralprep.com. Would love to hear from you and who you would recommend to have on the podcast next. So thanks again. So first up for this special episode, we have Dr. Chris Clark, Cathedral Prep class of 1987, who is the president of St. Vincent Hospital and was actually our very first guest on the podcast.
Knowing what I know now.
Knowing what you know now, yes. Yeah.
So, I guess that's a really fascinating question. Haven't thought much about what I would be saying in a situation like that. I guess I would give, if this was a time machine kind of a scenario, I would just reassure that audience, my classmates, that this was the right thing. Mm. And I'm obviously speaking for myself, but there's a lot of my prep classmates that I know are equally successful. And, at the time you're young, you have so much to learn, including, more maturity ahead. But, you don't know if, and there were issues that we ran into that were challenges during high school, like they happen everywhere. Yeah. So you don't know if it was the right thing for you. I would create a message if I was in that situation of providing an address, that you did the right thing by selecting Cathedral Prep, by all the hard work, it's going to pay off. I mean, I sort of feel that way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what's ahead for me personally. People, based on all those biographical statistics that you threw out there, people can figure out my age. I'm 53, so hopefully I have many years ahead. But I'm confident that at least what I've been what I've done so far, that I've had great influence from Cathedral Prep that has led to that. So I would send a message to that audience. Congratulations, you did the right thing.
Next, we have Mike McCoy, Cathedral Prep class of 1966. He is the president of Mike McCoy Ministries.
Hey, it's been a great run with you.
Yeah.
It's been fun at Prep, the things we learned at Prep, the character, the values, the people we've met there. Again, I go back to that faith. It always comes back to faith. Not the faith that some people think, but it's the personal relationships that we have with each other and with our faith, but also that personal relationship we have with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Because He is the rock. He's the solid foundation.
Amen.
One of the scripture verses talk about does a man build his house upon, the sand or the rock? Sand is the world system, or the rock is the person of Jesus Christ. Because when the trials and tribulation of life come, great will be the fall of that person who's built his house on the sand. And who's built his house upon the rock. Now you may be hanging on to that rock sometimes rather than standing on it, but that house will never fail. He'll never leave us, nor forsake us.
Next, we have Kayla McBride, Villa Maria Academy class of 2010. She is a professional basketball player.
Oh, wow. If I was going back, speaking my commencement, wow, that's 2010. And I knew what I knew now.
Yeah.
I
know, it makes you think for a minute.
Say, and I feel like, as I move into like my 30s, it's like your 20s are so weird and difficult and scary, and you just don't know anything.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. Like,
Right.
you think you do, but you really don't.
You find out real quick.
Is that it's okay. It's such a hard question because everybody was in a different space at that time, right? Including myself.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail. Because, like I said, the best things that have happened to me have come after I failed or after I felt like at my lowest.
Right.
The most beautiful things came after that. Or the hardest times, like the most beautiful things came after that. And I think sometimes you have this like outline for your life. You're like, okay, I want to be married by 25 and I want to have kids by this and I want to do this and this. And it may not always look like that. So it's okay to not meet those goals. But it's not okay to give up on yourself. It's not okay to not keep moving forward.
Right.
So if I would say anything, it's okay to fail, but it's not okay to lose any confidence. It's not okay to question yourself. It's not okay to question God. I mean, all that stuff.
Right.
Like, just remember who you are and remember that it's okay to fail.
Next, we have Sister Mary Drexler, Villa Maria Academy class of 1963. She is the president of the Sisters of St. Joseph.
If I were going back, I'd probably say...
Knowing what you know now, too.
Knowing what I know now.
Knowing what you know now.
Say, don't take yourself... I'm not sure these are in the right order.
Okay,
but
no worries.
Don't take yourself so seriously. Find joy and find energy in what you do. If you don't, if that's not happening, something's wrong. I would definitely say, put God into your life in some fashion. Figure out some time to just reflect, whether it's before you go to bed at night or the first thing in the morning or in the car when you're riding to work. Leave the radio off and spend some time talking to God about your day.
Next, we have the Honorable John Trusilla, Cathedral Prep class of 1978. He is a judge for Erie County Court of Common Pleas, the 6th Judicial District.
And I would say, gentlemen, we came in as boys and we graduate as men.
Yeah.
That was the big thing.
Yeah.
But I would say a few simple lessons. First of all, what I've learned now is 3 simple things. through my, I guess, exposure to philosophy, I'd say 3 of our greatest philosophers. Socrates, if you learn this lesson, Socrates, know thyself. Cicero, control thyself. Jesus Christ, give thyself. If you know those 3 pillars, you'll be a great person. But for you, gentlemen, there's 2 other things I want you to know. Always be loyal and true to this school, to your family, to your God, to your friends. If you can do those things, you'll have a great life.
Next, we have Charles Rush, Cathedral Prep class of 2001. He is an associate attorney at Morgan, Lewis, and Bacchius.
I say 2 things, and I say 2 things because there's things I'm extremely guilty of not doing.
Yeah.
1, live in the moment. Appreciate it, enjoy it. Don't always be looking towards the next thing, because like I said, I'm super guilty of that. Like, I don't wait and just embrace so many things that have gone on, and particularly I've been so blessed where I have enjoyed a fair amount of success, particularly athletically and professionally.
Yeah.
Where it's like I don't just sit with that.
Yeah.
And just appreciate it. Particularly especially with high school, I say 1, like don't live in the moment.
Yeah.
2, maintain your connections with your high school friends. Check on them every now and then. I've gotten better with it, but it's something that I didn't do enough of. And it's one of those things, it's like I can still always more I think I can do.
Yeah.
Because like it's a brotherhood and now a sisterhood,
right,
that is never going to leave you. It's always going to be there. These 4 years, and granted they're only 4 years, but its 4 years are some of the most transformative years of your life.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say, and not something that I despise very greatly, is when people say, oh, high school is the best years of your life. If high school is the best years of your life, you're doing something wrong.
Amen.
High school is a great time in your life.
And if anybody can say that, that's you.
Right? It's a great time in your life. Like, I had a great time in high school, but I just have the mindset is that I have yet to have the best years of my life. Like, there's so much more life to live, so much more things to achieve, so much more people to help, so many more places to go.
Yeah.
That I'm just getting started.
Next, we have Tim DeCastro, Cathedral Prep class of 1978. He is the president and CEO of Erie Insurance.
It's funny. It's a very interesting question. I mean, the first thing I would probably say is it's hard to believe that I'm up here making this speech because I didn't play sports. I was not an honor student.
Yeah.
I was kind of one of many who, like me, there was nothing really remarkable about my career at Cathedral Prep.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, but I was more quiet and reserved. But if I was talking to that entire class, I would tell them that the success you've enjoyed so far. If you want to continue to be successful, you need to develop and grow, and you need to change. And there's no guarantee that because you were the captain of the basketball team or the quarterback on the football team, that you're always going to be at that level of stature wherever you are. And so, learn into the next you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be successful, don't hang on to and cling to your previous success. Success is earned every day. It's going to be a challenge, and so you have to kind of continue to challenge yourself to be better,
right,
and to explore different things. I think the other thing I would tell people at the commencement address is don't get laser focused on one thing right now. If you do, make it the first thing. It's not an end game.
Right.
And be ready to pivot, because everybody is great in good times.
Yeah.
But the great people are good in bad times. They figure out how to navigate those things, and that's what I would encourage people to do: is expect things to change. Take what's good forward with you, but you can't cling to your success now is not going to guarantee you tomorrow.
Next, we have Debbie Utt, Villa Maria Academy class of 1982. She is the president of Professional Communications Messaging Services, Inc.
What I'd say to them is what I say to myself, what I say to so many people almost daily, is to know that every breath, every step, every day, God is with you. And I say that as I walk, as I breathe, every breath, every step, He's right here with me. That I and you are a child of the King of Kings. We're royalty, and we all are. And that I only look to two eyes, and to look to two eyes. So look to His eyes, because people have their own opinions and their own experiences in life, and it's good to get, advice and opinions from people. But when you bring that together and you think about it and you pray on it and you think of His two eyes, what do I do for Him? What does He want me to do? It just makes life a lot easier.
Next, we have Jim Stevenson, Cathedral Prep class of 1984. He is the regional president of Northwest Pennsylvania for PNC Bank.
Holy smoke! So if I was up in 1984, and I can tell you, it was Game 6 of the NBA Finals, 1984 was the day of our graduation. The Celtics and Lakers were playing, so I remember that because I was trying to get updates on the scores as it was going on. But I would say that I would not preempt, and I think our speakers for my graduation were Brian Stark, and Brian's done great things.
Yes.
Probably known as being for a period the Notre Dame leprechaun.
Yep.
But he's also a very highly respected doctor here locally, and I think he was coaching wrestling at Prep for a while as well.
Still is.
So he does a great job. Brian's certainly a leader. And the other was, I believe, was Jake Rao, Jake's a longtime friend. He's got a leadership position at the Chamber of Commerce here.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to preempt their, even though I don't remember their comments, I'm sure they were outstanding. So I wouldn't do that. But what would I tell? I'm not so sure I'd tell them anything. I think what I'd say to them is thanks. I think I'd say thanks because their friendship, the experiences that we shared together have had such a profound effect on my high school experience, but more importantly on my life well beyond. So be 30 plus years, or close to 4 years, since I graduated. They've been friends through challenging times when I needed them most, and great laughs together. So I don't think I'd tell them anything other than just be the people that you are destined to be. I'm a better person for having them as friends. So I would just say thanks to them is what I would do.
Next, we have Maria Sansone, Villa Maria Academy class of 1999. She is a TV host, social media personality, brand ambassador, lifestyle expert, and cookbook author.
I would say be authentically you, and it will all work out. And it will all work out.
Love it.
Yeah.
Next, we have John Zach, Cathedral Prep class of 1982. He is the regional manager for CT Consultants and was one of the main leads on the construction project most recently at Cathedral Prep.
Just continue to have an open mind, prepare, embrace, and welcome change.
And lastly, we have for our most recent episode of the podcast, Almy Clerkin, Villa Maria Academy class of 1981. She is the executive director for the Sisters of St. Joseph.
I would say how lucky we were to be a part of the Villa Maria Academy education, how blessed we were to develop all these friendships that we don't know now, but will be with us for the rest of our lives. I would probably say be sure and take God along with you on this journey and know that He's always there. And the fact that He loves you. I mean, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, He loves us so much that, so love is there.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're going through, there's an answer. There's an answer. Don't quit. I think those are some of the things I would say.
So there you have it. That's a wrap on year one of the Rambler podcast. And Stay tuned for future episodes of the podcast coming out. We have a great lineup of guests for the 2023-2024 school year. And, thanks again for listening. God bless and roll Ramblers.